Hi guys, thanks for joining me. I'm Marilyn and my channel is Making with Marilyn. Now I do all things crafty, but on today's video, I want to show you a common problem for people that are designing rhinestone templates. And I want to show you how to fix that. Or, in the perfect world, how to prevent it. So I'm going to jump onto the computer, show you what the issue is, show you how you fix it. Then I have my two assistants with me this evening. I'm going to press a new rhinestone template onto this hat. Now the things that I'll be using for this, I'm going to use some SS6 rhinestones. Now that's a smaller stone than I usually use, but for a really small template to get much detail, this is my preferred size. Then I'm going to use my little brush to brush them into the template, my rhinestone picker tool, some transfer tape, and some flock. I'm going to cut this on my Cricut maker. Now, I was just sitting around tonight working on a rhinestone template for a hat that I want to wear this weekend. Now, here's what I have so far. And these right here, these mimic the grills on the front of a Jeep. And then usually there's a circle here for a light and a circle here for a light. And I'm putting a heart there and I'll put a heart here. Now, this is not an original idea. I've seen it done before. And so I don't know who started this, but it sure wasn't me. So I got my ovals, I filled them in with rhinestones, and I started on a heart. And let me show you how I did this. So I went right over here, and you see a heart right there. And so I just drew a heart. In the end, I'll end up copying and pasting this one, but I want to just show you. Then I need to select it, so you go right up here to the select tool, click on it, and then click back on the heart. Here's my rhinestone panel right here, so I click on that. And right now there's no rhinestones in it. If I click here, it's going to just put them on the perimeter of it, or the outline of it. If I click here, it does a linear fill. See how they're going from side to side? And then if I go here, it does a radial fill. So this is about what it looked like when I started. Now right now, with it selected, let me show you. I go up to Object. I can't make it a compound path, and I can't ungroup it. So to work with these stones, because look, there's a lot of space in there, I have to go right here to release rhinestones. Now once you release your rhinestones, you cannot resize your image and have the holes be the right size. Let me show you what I mean. Right now there's 59 stones in this. If I drag it to make it larger, it adds more stones. See how I have 84? So I'm just going to drag it smaller to about the size it was. Okay, it looks something like that. So to fix that, now I need to say release rhinestones. Now each one has its own square around it, and I can move those around. I can also copy and paste them. So the first thing I'm going to do is click off of it, and I'm going to try to put one right there. So I click on this one, I hit Command-C for copy, Command-V for paste. Then I'm just going to drag this to the middle, and it fits nicely. I still think there's too much space in here though. So now I'm just going to drag this up and drag this up. And remember, the last thing on my clipboard was a circle, so I can just hit Command-V again. Drag it into place. Now I'm going to have to space that out. It's not correct yet. I'll hit Command-V again. And drag this one over into place. Now I can just start playing with this, moving those around until I like it. And that's exactly what I'm going to do for just a minute. This really isn't a tutorial on designing. It's more on how you fix an issue when it happens. And I'm going to show you that issue in just a minute. The first times it happened to me, I was totally clueless on why it was doing it and how to fix it. Okay, so I'm going to call that good. So the next thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to go ahead and make this into a path so that they're all one unit versus a ton of little stones. So I selected all the stones, and I went up here to Object, and I said make it a compound path. Now watch what happens. They jump around. And so I have had a few people ask me about that. Let me show you how you fix it. I'll go back. Now, with all of these selected, go up to Object and Group. Now, go back to Object and say Make Compound Path, and it's fixed. Now, on each of these, so you see this one here, I never released the rhinestones. I'll go back up to Object. I can't ungroup it. I can't do anything. I could release the compound path. Let's see what happens. But still, they're not individual. So what you have to do is you have to go over here. But let me show you. The same thing that happened before is when I select all those and I go up and I say Object, Make Compound Path, it moved them around again. Now that's pretty cute, but it's not how I designed it. So let's go back. With them all selected, I'll say Release Rhinestones. There they're released. You can tell because there's boxes around each one. Now I say Object. Watch what happens if I say Make Compound Path again. They jumped. So you have to have that step of grouping them. So they're still all individual. So I go to Object, Group, then Object, Make Compound Path, and all is good in the world again. Okay, even though this looks nice, I want my two hearts to be perfectly matched. Now I'm just going to go over here, get rid of this one, and make my screen just a little bit smaller. I'll select this heart. I'll hit Command C for copy, Command V for paste. Now I want this to be exactly even with this. So with this one selected, I'll hold the Shift key down, add this one to it, and actually, let me move this just a little bit closer because I think I'm running upon it possibly being too big. Let's see. We'll hold that, hit Shift, add that to it. I'm going to go up, hit Object, Align, and let's align the tops of those. Now I'll go to Object and I'll say Group. And then this is all one. So now with it selected, I'll hold Shift, add that to it. Again, I'll go up to Object, Align, and then Align Center. Okay, barely shifted it. Now, should I move these down just a little bit? I think I should. So now that I'm ready, I'm going to go ahead and select everything. I'm going to go to Object, and I'm going to say Release the Compound Path. Now you can see all those are separate. I'm going to go back up there and say Release Compound Path, and those hearts should separate. And then one more time, Object, Release Compound Path. Let's try it again. Oh, they're grouped together. So I go Object, Ungroup. Okay, so now I want all of this just to be one compound path. So everything's individual. Sometimes you just have to play around until you get there. So I'll say Object, Make Compound Path. And we're good. So now I'm going to save this. And I'm going to save it with the dimensions in it. So I either take a picture with my cell phone or I jot those down. Now the reason I do that is I want to put them in the title of this file. And that's because historically, rhinestone templates did not go into Cricut at the right size. So then you have to resize them to get them to the correct size. Otherwise, the size of your holes will not be correct for your rhinestones. So I'm going to say File, Save As. I'm going to save it to my hard drive. All right, so I named it GPAT 6SS, that's the size of my rhinestones, 5.564 wide by 2.726 tall. And then I want to save this as an SVG, otherwise I cannot bring it into my Cricut. Now I don't own a silhouette cutter. I just use the software to design the templates. So I'm going to save that to my desktop. Then we're going to open up Cricut. Now that I'm in Cricut Design Space, I'm going to go right here to upload. I'll say upload image, and then I'm going to go browse on my desktop for it and bring it in. There it is. Now I'll tell you about this rectangle in a minute. I forgot that was on the screen. Okay, so I'll say open, and we'll go ahead and say upload. Now that it's uploaded, I'll click on it and I'll say add to canvas. So this little gray rectangle, I don't think it was actually visible on the screen. That was just my little template size to know if it fit on my hat press. So I'm going to go ahead and say ungroup, click off of it, back on it, delete that. So let's see what size this came in at. And it came in way too small. Remember, mine was supposed to be 5.564. So when I hit enter, because the proportions are locked, this should change to the right size, which should be 2.726. And it is. So this is perfect. I'm ready to make it, so I click on make it. Now I want to move this down and over a little bit so I have some extra flock to the top and side of it. And then it thinks I'm on a 12 by 24. Let's change that to 12 by 12. Oops. I made that go back to the wrong place. So I'll move it again and I'll say continue. Now I'm going to browse materials, and I have my own setting in here. And the setting was first suggested by Craftable Things. She's another YouTuber, and it's a pressure of 340 and single cut. Now that may or may not work for you. Machines are different, blades are different. Try a few little circles first before you rely on this for a template. But it's what I use. I don't use the backing of the flock, so I click there and I say done. Now I have to make sure I have my fine point blade in, which I do, and I'm ready to cut. All right, guys, I forgot to hit record. So I've already pulled this off. It's a beautiful cut, but I want you to see it as if this were the first time, which it's not. Look how beautifully that cut. It cut every hole out. Now here's a couple of other Jeep designs that I did quite a while back, and I might as well keep them all together. It looks like I did not center this too well on the flock. That's okay, it's still going to work. Now I'm going to use these rhinestones. Again, these are the SS6 size, so they're smaller, and this is Crystal AB. I get these from the Baby's Booty. She is getting ready to have another buy-in here in a couple weeks, and so I'm going to put the link to her store in the video description. If you go there and it says sold out or unavailable, that's just because when I uploaded this video, the buy-in's not on. Now SS6 stones, they are gorgeous. They are tiny. They brush into place really well. And then they get stuck in your brush. So if you use them, you need to make sure that after you do this, you clean your brush out. Otherwise, those are going to end up on the wrong design. Now, I always pour way too many on. I just find that it's easiest for me to do it that way. So I'll just brush all these excess ones off. And it looks like I have one hole that's not filled. So I have my little rhinestone picker tool. Grab one over here. Whoops, that is not tight. Just screws on. You can get replacements of these wax tips. And then set it down into place. Everything else looks good, I believe. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and move those over to this side so that I can use my hot fix tape and pick these stones up. So here's my hot fix tape. This is called KTM Mask, and I get it from the Heat Transfer Warehouse. I will put a link to it in the video description because I love this stuff. It works so well. Alright, so a couple of those started to lift up, but all you have to do is put your tape down into place. then you can just rub on your stones and it pushes them into the holes. Now, if one isn't going down into the hole, I'll show you what you do. You can either take something like this and shove it over like that. I like to just take my nail and push it over. All right, we're going to go with that. Let me go ahead and lift those up. Now, the hot fix tape, you pull it back up and the rhinestones should stick to it. If they're not sticking, your tape is probably too old to use. You can use it multiple times, but eventually it's going to get so worn out that it doesn't easily pick them up. And the hot fix tape isn't too expensive, so use it several times, but once you start having problems, go ahead and cut a new piece. So I'm going to lay this right back down on the backing. I'll clean up my stones, I'll get my hat press up here, then we're going to put this on the hat. Now, it's hard to fit this whole press into the camera, but this is an inexpensive hat press that I got off of Amazon. Now let's see, I plugged it in, turned it on, and it's defaulting to something. Let me check the temperature. All right, it's defaulting to 341. I want to go ahead and turn that up to 350. And then time, it's defaulting to 20 seconds. I want to go ahead and turn that down. Now it's hard for you to see, so I pulled it back just a little bit, but this hat press has this little lever. You push that down and it lifts up a metal thing that you can put in your hat. Then when you release it, it pulls the hat down, stretches it out, and makes it pretty smooth on here. Now, in the perfect world, I would have preheated my hat. That removes moisture, and it's so unstructured, my little template's falling off. So let me go ahead and get my hat into place first. So I'm going to go ahead and push this lever down. It lifts a piece of metal up so you can put the back of your hat under it. And again, that helps to stretch your hat out and make it smooth. Then I probably ought to pull this liner down. Okay, so I pulled the liner out. Maybe I can show that to you here in just a minute. And then let's straighten this hat up. All right, so you see the liner's out. Then I can see these two, whatever those little holes are, they're about equal distance from the top. So I'm going to use this center line to center my design. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So hopefully the pressure's right. I haven't changed it since my last hat, but I can see that the heat is not going to be on all the rhinestones, so I need to adjust again. All right, let's check that again. All right, this time the upper platen of this is going to cover those stones. So I'm going to go ahead and push this down, lock it into place, and the counter started counting down by itself. Now when the counter gets to 0, this does not come up by itself. It's a manual, that's why it's so inexpensive, but it does a loud beep. All right, want to make sure it feels really hot on the sides. Perfect. Now, I'm going to go ahead and lay it back down just on the rhinestones. I feel like the heat was great here, but on the sides here, not quite as much. So I'm going to put it back down just to make sure those stick. And then I'm not going to wait the full time. I'll go ahead and turn it off. Then to take the hat off, push the lever down. It releases the tension and just pull your hat off. So cute. All right, so here's my hat, and it's cute, but I see a rhinestone that really bothers me. Right there. It's really out of place. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little hot fix wand. It should be heated up by now. And then this little attachment says it's for SS6, so I'll go ahead and screw that in. And I should have done that by now because it's going to take a minute for that to heat up. That was pretty hot when I did that though. And then what I'm going to do is my rhinestone that's out of place is right here. So I'm going to take it, press it on there, wait for it to heat up a little bit, and then try to shove it a little bit to the left. Now you can either move the stone that's on there, or if you're selling this, you might want to just take that off and replace it. There we go. That is so much better. So here's my new hat for the weekend. I think it's cute. Now, not everybody is going to understand what that design is, but I will. Also, you can see I got a little bit angled. This isn't straight on the seam, but that's okay. This is for me, and I love it. So thanks so much for joining me. I hope that the video was helpful. I hope that showing you why those stones were jumping and how to fix it was helpful. And until my next one, bye-bye.